So it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure for me to speak before you on regional cooperation and potential for a meaningful economic integration in South Asia. South Asia, certainly a region that offers a very complex and complicated architecture in terms of security and in terms of politics, and offers an unique arrangements of state systems. It has emerged, certainly, as a global economic power hub recently, and change is taking place in South Asia, both in societal and political level, at a light speed. It presents challenges that none ever thought, even 10 years back. It now has two nuclear powers, a midst of phenomenal level of poverty, and is a neighbor of China and two other potential nuclear card holders, that is Iran and Myanmar. At the same time, it maintains a close tie with the turbulent region that is the Middle East. Now, what we have seen over the past several years in South Asia, an emerging challenge, a tension between the conservatives and the society, which has become very evitable in every sphere or every levels of analysis in strategic studies and international relations. In fact, what we have seen, a new social contract is emerging, meaning that people are asking more from the society, and the pattern of asking or questioning the state has fundamentally changed over the period. Now, it presents a dynamic multitude of stakeholders, mostly dominated by the young, and the youth population is shaping a new South Asia, while some would say a tough love situation between the people and the state, particularly the young people and the state. Now, when we are talking about the political economy of regional cooperation, now it has two sides. One is supply side, certainly, and another is the demand side. Supply side for regional cooperation is changing accordingly, in fact, the way the global economic system is changing. And on the other hand, the demand side for meaningful integration, whether at a low level or a high level, is also changing. Now, this factor of supply side and demand side provides a unique situation, a unique imbalance, for an example, an imbalance between unprecedented success and extraordinary failures in different systems within South Asia. Well, on a positive note, South Asia navigated the financial crisis, the recent one, and in fact the 1996-97 financial crisis, better than most of the regions. It has emerged as an economic powerhouse. The GDP growth, for an example, is growing at 7% average, which is a magic number to us. With the growth of the economy, we have seen strong civil society coming up, NGOs. In fact, two of the major NGOs in the world, BRAC and Grameen Bank, is from Bangladesh, which is, again, an inevitable part of South Asia. We have seen the growth of huge skilled and semi-skilled manpower, which also gives an indication that a new sense of entrepreneurship is growing. Diversified growth in small and medium enterprises, export baskets, making the region an attractive power hub within the global system. Now, as such, when we write about the geoeconomic and geostrategic importance of South Asia, we're essentially now writing the importance, the factors of importance, which is fundamentally different than the pre-9/11 period. Now, we have come with an idea here, is the ambition of a new Silk Route from Turkey to South Asia to China, or Europe to Central Asia to South Asia to China, and which shows huge potential theoretically. However, practically, feasible practicability needs to be further debated with meaningful with proper information. In South Asia, if we want to think about a new Silk Route, certainly we need to understand the political system here. One is certainly we have colonial inheritance of political control of border. We love to control our border, economic imbalances, inequalities, and certainly the sense of insecurity, both in the societal level and the state level. Huge number of labor is entering market every year, leading to a huge number of unemployment. Inflation rate is striking at an 8% average, shows that inflation is high, growing, while the public finances are getting weaker. Essentially, that affects the rural livelihood systems and certainly the law and order situation. Now, corruption is heavily embedded within the society. In general, corruption presents a bleak situation. Well, the whole factor, this factor is more or less similar across the region. More pathetic here is the regional trade. The intra-regional trade is less than 2% compared to 40% in the East Asia, its immediate neighbor of South Asia. Another example is 1% of hydropower of Afghanistan and Nepal has been utilized, which would substantially help South Asia's common development agenda. 500 million poor still is certainly linked with poor governance, corruption, and certainly what we call paralysis in public policy makings. Infrastructure is a big issue. It's a huge nightmare, and World Bank indicator has showed that 2.9 is the indicator for infrastructure, while the global average is 3.8. So we are still lagging behind. Then there is the question of the political control of borders and conservative immigration policies, which prohibits movement of natural persons under the WTO. In that regard, not only the natural persons, for anybody else. NTB, non-tariff barriers, is highest, hinders any meaningful economic cooperation, let alone possibility of integration. We have seen a mosaic of bilateral FTAs. In most cases, bilateral FTAs are yet to be seen as a meaningful measure for cooperation among the states. Therefore, we need to think out of the box, which is essentially India and Pakistan has to be more proactive in strengthening multilateral regimes such as SAARC, and SAARC can provide a regional platform for discussion and leading institution for streamlining legal framework for regional cooperation, hence regional integration. Now, the idea of political mistrust, certainly the political will for cooperation at the state level still remains problematic. We haven't seen much progress. However, we have seen in recent couple of years that the mindset is gradually changing, which is a good indicator, because the idea of security is now being redefined. Only the problem is the state has to understand the concept of security, the way people are now understanding concept of security, much thanks to the information and communication technology, media, and of course the growth of democratic aspirations around South Asia. Now, security in terms of narrow scopes of strategic sense and national interest, ideological extremisms of it, and certainly ethnic tensions are very much dominating the cooperation narratives or discourse in South Asia. Hence, this leads to another type of tension, which is the tension between free trade and protectionism. And this particular tension between free trade and protectionism hinders any meaningful ways for win-win situation. Power imbalances between the region. Hence, in this regard, the relation between South Asia and China and relation between South Asia with the Middle East needs to be understood, which will require significant adjustments in terms of psychological behavior as well as state public policy. And finally, there is a need to change in the policy behavior, within the states of South Asia. We need to be more cooperative, and because South Asia doesn't have much choice but to get rid of historical and continued perennial deep political divisions and organize themselves for serious engagement for meaningful multilateral cooperation, leading to low level of integration, for example, customs, trade, banking, digital system, to a higher level of integration. That's what I believe is the need of our time. Thank you.